So yeah, first of all, good morning. Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to talking to us. I know you're a busy man, but the way I know you, probably this morning already woke up very early, done rounds of meditation, rounds of breathing.
Yeah, I already went for my morning walk. I already went on my morning walk, which was great. And as Joe knows, I get up early and I go for walks here.
Wow.
Get my laps in nature, which is brilliant, even when it's really cold today, but still so beautiful and crisp. So no, I love it.
Well, that's the thing. You're in the countryside, so by the time it gets warm, there it would be towards midday.
Yes.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Nice. But how are you feeling? I mean, can you take us through some of you? I mean, I had 1,000 questions for you, but I mean, I've asked those questions before. So, but let's put in a way that I haven't asked this question before because people don't know you, or people don't know your story. Can you take us through from the beginning, not from the big explosion, but towards once you on this planet, you originally from?
I see. My life story, really.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Start from there, and then we take it from there to from movie and career and so on.
Sure. So I was born in Egypt many years ago now. And then when I was a little kid, my mom and I left Egypt because we were in a pretty shitty situation back in the country. And so we had to leave. So we actually escaped Egypt, is the truth of it, and moved to Germany. And then once in Germany, I kind of grew up in a town called Bonn, which used to be the capital of West Germany. Oh. And I went to an American school there, so I learned English at a very early age. I grew up with both languages, actually with 3 languages, German, English, and Arabic. And so I became an athlete when I was 15 as a pretty competitive basketball player. And then I got hit by a car when I was 15. Man. And that was the end of my basketball career. And so then after that, I went and studied, what did I study? I studied Egyptology and archaeology because I was bored. And I figured I'm Egyptian, so I might as well learn something that, has to do with my people. Right. But I didn't know it would take in all those library hours and I had to study so much. It was a lot more than I anticipated, and it wasn't really what I wanted to do. But then I started studying sports science at the university in a city called Cologne. And I got to train with all the Olympic athletes there, and that was fantastic. But then I got hurt. I tore my hamstring in the long jump, and I couldn't participate in any of the classes. And so they advertised an acting class in like Hall 17. And so I went there on my crutches into this acting class and kind of go, oh, this is really fun. I could do this.
I can do this.
And so I met a guy who's become a lifelong friend, and he had an audition in the UK at the Oxford School of Drama at the time. And so we got very drunk one night and discussed it and thought it would be a really good idea if we went to drama school together.
As you did.
And so on a spur of a moment, I called up very inebriated this drama school and asked if I could audition with my friend and if I could go in there and become an actor. And they agreed to see us and audition us. And funnily enough, we both got in, and that's kind of how it happened. I then went to drama school in the UK.
That was in Germany or in the UK?
The drama school was in the UK. When I got injured and where I went, that was in Germany. But then when I came over to the UK, I went to Oxford first to go to drama school there. And then once I graduated, I then moved to London because I got signed up by my agent. Wow. And then I started working from there, and then the jump from London to Hollywood came pretty soon. I met you in between.
Wow.
I met Joe in between, so that was good fun. He trained me. He kicked my ass almost once a week, every week. Oh. I'm sure you're all very familiar with all that kind of stuff he likes to do, right? I'm sure you.
You don't need to go that deep in the details, so let's skip that bit, Because if people find out I've been beating up a Hollywood star, they're gonna go, "Oh, that's very bad." But I have my side of the story, people. Wait a minute, I can tell you a few details about that one too. Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
And I mean, the first movie, I mean, I guess for someone who's want to become anything in life, when you get that very first foot through the door, the foot through the door, I'm getting there. I got my first big movie. How does that feel? It must feel amazing.
You know, I think I had that when I did a play. You know, I did a play before I got on screen. I was doing a lot of theater in London. I was doing plays in the West End and plays at the Royal Court. And I had that aha moment when I was on stage one day. I kind of thought that, you know, I didn't know if this acting thing was going to turn out right, or if I needed to get a real job, you know, and do something different with my life. And then I was on stage one day, and there was lots of people in the audience, and I realized this is what I was meant to be doing, because, you know, I enjoyed it, and it was fun, and it was, don't want to say it was easy, but it felt right. You know, I was connected into it. And so that's when I kind of knew that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
But then I think each time you do something new and you do it for the first time, it's that amazing feeling. So the first time you do a play, the first time you do a TV show, the first time you do a big blockbuster,
wow.
Each time is different and gives you different sensations, and you meet different people all the time. So to be honest, I try to keep that feeling of newness every time, so that I feel like I don't know anything. So this is my first time. Hi, guys. And that kind of is very refreshing, because you never go there thinking you know everything, because each time I'm learning something new. Like, I don't know nothing, and I've been doing it for 20 years.
Wow. I mean, I guess it must be very difficult to start from a completely new character, from you reading the script and going, right, I need to come up with something, your interpretation,
Yeah.
your, you know, catchphrase or whatever that is. You're not going to go, I'll be back again, because someone's done it. So yeah, it's to come up with something new that is going to be catchy. It's kind of a trick, isn't it? You have to reinvent yourself pretty much.
Yeah, I think you have to reinvent yourself every job, every single opportunity that you get, because what's happening is each time you're learning and getting to know new people.
Wow.
You know, for most people that are doing the same job, they see the similar people over a long period of time. And so I see people for 2-3 months, and then I might never see them again, or I might see them again 10 years from now. And so each time you're getting this influx of new people, you also get an influx of new ideas, because everybody's bringing something. So whether it's the costume department, whether it's the camera department, whether it's your fellow actors, whether it's the director or the producers, the writers, you're meeting new people all the time. And if you stay open, you can absorb what this newness is bringing to you each time. So that's really the goal, is to just kind of become a clean slate every time you walk in. Yes, of course, I've made experiences and I've done things, but the less I pretend that I know, and the more I go knowing nothing, the more I will enjoy it, because the more I will actually take in.
Wow. And another question that, I mean, I've asked you before, but for the rest of the people there, when you read the script, you know, of course, the agent put you in contact. They think the role is for you. You got the character, whatever. I have no idea what I'm talking about here, because I can talk about Krav Maga all day long, but stepping out of this, I'm just, you know, winging this thing here. But can you look at the script and say, right, I can add extra bits of, you know, previous movies into this, or a different character into that, or would you go, just follow the guidelines what the script is telling you, or they will ask you to give some input and develop the character?
Yeah, I think it's different from project to project. Again, I think the most important part is your imagination.
Right.
And I don't know, I think we all learn in different ways. I have a very visual mind. So when I read something, I have a movie that's happening in my head immediately. So I can see every scene is playing outside in my head. And so once you read the script, and I'm somebody who likes to read it again and again and again and again, each time you read it, new things happen in your head. New images start to come up. And so my whole life is a memory bank for my work. That's the kind of the way I look at it. I think everything that I experience in life is I draw for each of the characters that I play. I think the less preconceived ideas you have, the more open you can be, because the director is going to come with certain ideas, the producers will have certain ideas, the writer will definitely have an idea because he wants it a certain way. Right. And you all have to come together and collaborate. It's a very collaborative experience. But for the most part, a lot of it happens in your imagination. And for that, you have to make sure that the imagination is full, and you have to keep feeding it. That means I have to expose myself to other movies, to literature, to paintings, to all the things that you can draw inspiration from, because that's what you're going to. Sometimes, you know, you're playing a character and you don't know anything, and I'm reading the script, and then I go to a cafe and I meet a guy that is just like the guy that I'm going to play. And he's standing there, he's dressed in a certain way, and I'm like, that's the guy. And you just take something from them. He walks he moves a certain way. He talks in a rhythm that inspires you, and you take that. But if you go in with too many preconceived ideas, then all the universe has to offer to you, it's unseen, because you don't pick it up, because you're set on what you said in your mind. And so I think the biggest asset is to always just try and stay open. Stay open and allow things to affect you, and to allow your imagination to work, so that when you're reading the script, the picture's already happening in your head. So I would know instantly, because of the way that the writer is writing the character, you kind of go, oh, he's got a speech pattern, he talks like this. Okay, this is great. Maybe I should try this. And then you come up with these ideas, and the director goes, oh no, that's shit. Oh, I like that. Okay, keep that. Shit, keep that. Okay. And so it's a collaborative effect, and you just you figure it out as you go along.
Wow. Well, and from all the movies and all the theater and all the, you know, the series have done it, which character was the one that you can say, right, that's a lot of me on that character? I mean, don't tell me that is the American Sniper, you killing kids with a cordless drill.
the butcher.
The butcher.
You know, I have a hard time answering that question, because I think all characters come from the well that is you. I'm not getting it from somewhere else. Right. You know, it's coming from. So they all have parts of me in them, even the bad guys that I've played. You know, it's just the worst parts of me. You know, and I'm adding on to that through imagination, through allowing myself to express parts that I normally wouldn't express. Like, let's take the butcher, for example. So the butcher, I had to drill a hole into a child's head. And I was playing a pretty vicious and crazed guy that was actually based on a real character.
And that was
so having understood. Say again?
I said that was before the lockdown. You have to do it now. It would be much easier. You've been with a child for
so much. Yeah. Okay, Joe. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. They don't. You know, when you place a character like that, you just, again, you're just allowing parts of yourself to come out that you normally keep safe and sound, and keep them away from other people so that they don't aggravate anybody else. But when you're working in this environment, you're allowed to express that. And so you get to know yourself in a different way. Wow. You know, a lot of us don't allow ourselves to be that evil, you know, because it's not a nice thing to behave like that. I get to pretend to be that evil for a little bit, and I get to experience it. And so in that, there's a lot of things that you can learn from that. And I think each character that you play teaches you something.
Very interesting. Because when we are teaching classes, I normally talk about this all the time. Imagine you are in that acting class where you have to be a very nice guy, and all of a sudden turn into the monster. You have 1 second to go from 0 to 100, full aggression, full power, and then relax back to normal again. So the normal joke is that, right, you know, as every psychopath will be able to do it, or a good actor. So, you know, that also plays a very important role when we are training using imagination and so on. And by the way, I met the butcher a few times in sparring sessions, people, by the way, yeah? So I've seen that evil side when they hook punch me, throw head me first on the floor, and so on. But that's another story for another day.
Is another story, because I got a story to say of what he does to me, but I'm not allowed to say that.
Hold it back. Okay, very interesting, very interesting. And you spent some time in the UK. You did what you had to do here, and then one day you thought, okay, that's time to move, pack my bags, and move to the US.
No, it was more of an offer that, you know, I think I was doing really well here in the UK, and I was filming, and I was traveling a lot. And then I got an opportunity to be on a TV series in the States. And so then they basically just brought me over, and I never left. Wow. So I just stayed.
There was 7 years,
And
7 year period, which I love. This 7 year period. Many things happen in those 7 years, isn't it?
yeah, it seems to be, my life seems to run in 7 to 9 years. That seems to be the pattern, and it seems very obvious like that. It is actually.
It's very nice.
But yeah, there's
Okay, nice. And once in the US, I mean, the UK and the US in terms of in this market must be very different. I mean, what's happening over there that is not happening here, and vice versa? And also, does that change every now and then? Does, you know, at one stage the UK is hot
yeah.
in terms of acting, and some other times would be the US?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think especially now, everything is changing. I think even what you were saying 5 years ago is not applicable anymore now because of the streaming services and where the work actually is. Before it was always the goal, you have to get to Hollywood, you got to get to Hollywood, you got to get to Hollywood. And then once you're in Hollywood, you have a chance at everything.
Right.
Nowadays, that's basic because everything is so global. And the streaming networks, being Apple, being Netflix, being Amazon, being Hulu, all these new streamers that are coming on top, they're all creating fantastic content. And this content is shot all over the world, mainly here in Europe for us, and not so much back in the US. And so back when I went to the US, it was still, you got to go to Hollywood, and that's where everything is done, and that's where you got to be.
Right.
What I learned, like, there is a difference in how the industry works, but also how us actors are within the industry. I think in the US, you know, they call it show business.
Right.
And the business part is really emphasized there.
Okay. Yeah. You can say that, yeah.
It's very much a business. And so while they are creating art at the time, it's still a business model that they're following. And I think things in the UK and in Europe, and generally, from my experience, is that things are a little bit more looser and a bit more creative in that way, and you have a little bit more room to wiggle. But because American productions are incredibly expensive, they're huge, it costs a lot of money, and when a lot of money is involved, a lot of fear is involved, and a lot of people are involved, they're all trying to have an opinion, and so that can sometimes get in the way from actually getting the story told. So yeah, I think the business is changing all the time. But at the end of the day, it's just a bunch of human beings speaking and saying lines, and
Right.
things happening in the background. It's, you know, we're not saving lives, we're entertainers. You know, right now, nobody needs actors. We need nurses, we need firemen, we need policemen, we need people working in supermarkets. Right now, entertainers, we're not that important. And I think a crisis like this is something that really highlights that, where our society should really place its emphasis.
Yeah, but for sure, I mean, the acting skills is not something that everybody will have them. I mean, perhaps in a different level, of course, you can tell jokes to your family, you can tell jokes to your friends, and, you know, go out and have a beer and make people laugh. I guess that is in a very small level, let's put it this way. But once you stand in front of a camera, that's been, you know, that moment in your life has been recorded, and all of a sudden, everybody around the planet will be able to see that at different stages and connect you to that character, for instance. That's my next question now. You get connected to example, the X-Files. That's what it comes to my mind. The actress there. I don't even know the name, but I don't remember now. But everybody, you know, every movie that you watch and you look at her and you go, oh yeah, that's the lady from the X-Files. So that connection, which can be very good and very bad. I'm not sure how you play that. But anyway, I think it's better be remembered for something that, you know, nobody knowing you, I guess. What's your take on that?
I think the fact that people know you already is something.
Right.
What for is almost irrelevant, because it really depends on what you do with it. If people just know you because you were in a show, then it doesn't really mean anything. Right. You know, fame is only useful if you use it for something positive. And if you utilize that platform that fame is giving you to help other people or to stand for something, then being famous is important and good. But the truth is, we're all just human beings. You know, we're all just people. We're all human beings. Everybody's quarantined right now. We're all in the same place. This is like, you know, the big equalizer. it doesn't really matter that I'm an actor or that you are a Krav Maga teacher or that, you know, whatever else everybody else is doing. It's really irrelevant, and it's what we can provide and what we can bring to people. And I think if you have a fame as a platform, whether you're an athlete, whether you're a musician, whether you're an actor, or whether you're a celebrity of any kind, the whole point of your celebrity is to use that platform to bring about positive change. If you're just using the platform to put money into your pocket and to heal yourself and to further your own goal, that's cool too. You know, it's not what I'm about, and I don't judge it. Everybody, each to their own. But for me, it always has to, if you're going to invade my privacy and people want to know about what's going on in my life, then it has to have a purpose that's beyond myself.
Right. Wow, very nice. So there's a question from one of our members here that says, which is also an instructor, saying, I think it's important to have all doctors and nurses and supermarket employees, as you mentioned, but actors and TV, it's important now to help people unwind in a sense of to get their heads off the, you know, what's happening. Perhaps I like to go into comedy, and I keep sending links to everybody about, you know, people around the UK here, you know, to have that laugh when you need the most, to get the mindset, the focus to go in a different direction. Again, I relate all this with Krav Maga, the fighting, you going from focusing to one problem to another problem. It dealt with the situation, let's go to the next one. I keep being very positive to the point sometimes people complain, come on, you be so positive, you have no business. I say, I know, but I'm not the only one. I cannot be selfish with that because we're all involved, as you mentioned. But let's think after that, how are we gonna get started? So I want to become an actor, be famous like you. Just kidding.
Yeah. I think actors have an important role to fill in society, which is to entertain and to distract and to do all those things. And I think that will become important again once we all get out of this hole. But I think, I don't know that I really have an opinion, because I don't think I want to judge one thing to be more important than another. I think, you know, we're all just people, and we're all just trying to figure out how to get through this. Right. And the people that I'm just really grateful for myself are the people that are out there risking and putting themselves at risk all the time. And those are the people that you really have to, as a society, I feel we have to really look after them a little bit more than we have. And I think it's for people such as myself or other people that have a platform to highlight that, actually, to make sure that we understand the importance of the person at the supermarket whose face you never actually looked at. You know, who you constantly go and you're buying groceries from. But did you ever spend the time and say hi to that person, get their name and see who they are? And that's something that I also learned, I guess, from acting is to not take any face for granted. Right. So any face that you really pay attention to it, because there's a human being that's lurking behind it. And so if you're going to engage with that, then get that engagement going from a human to human level. And make it about that. And once that happens, your profession or what you do for a living, it goes out the window. Right. Because, you know, after 2 minutes, nobody cares. Nobody gives a fuck what you do. It's you know, it's about, and you connect to that.
Right. Well, phenomenal stuff. From places I mean, everybody looks at an actor and think, wow, phenomenal. The guy's there, his face is everywhere, he's making a ton of money. But there is the other side of it, where you leave your family and you move away for, as you said, 3 months, sometimes 6 months to record something big. And that's you.
You know, I've been away 8 months at times, you know, it's...
Yes, that's the other side. People don't understand that. So if you record a series that lasts for 10 years, but all of a sudden you're away from your family from 5 years. So it's, you know, is that a balance? Is it, you know, lots of money, but then no relationship, no time with the family? How do you balance that one?
There's a reason that all these actors end up in divorce, you know? There's a reason for that. It's very hard. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to keep a family life going when you are constantly on the move like that. And when you're constantly on the move and you're constantly on the move meeting new people. So going from family to family, because when you're on a movie set, it becomes a little family. So you're growing from one family to the next family to the next family. And so that's a very transient lifestyle, and that's very difficult. And it takes a lot of discipline and takes a lot of work to make relationships and family life work. It's definitely a challenge, but it's very rewarding because it's, you know, everybody's different. For me personally, I can only speak for myself. I need that base, that solid base from, and then jump off and I can go and do my thing. But if I don't have my family, I wouldn't know, you know, none of it would make any sense to me, you know. So we're all different in what we need, but that the separation from the family is definitely something that is tricky. It's harder. It's hard on the family too. You know, it's not, we're thinking of it just from our perspective, but the family also, they have to go on with life without one person in the house, and the chores are not the same. The kids are growing up without knowing their dad or their mom at a certain period of their life. So you know, it comes with a price, but anything's doable. Anything's doable. One finds a way. Thankfully now, for the technology that we have, we can all sit here and 15 of us can chat together, and we can see each other and have a conversation. You know, when I started in the business, that wasn't possible.
Wow.
You didn't have camera phones yet. We couldn't see each other. You could text maybe, and that was the best that you could get. Now you can put on Zoom, you can put on Skype, FaceTime, whatever it is, and you can see. That makes things a lot better, a lot easier. And it makes one not forget the family, and the family not to forget you.
Right.
Not that it would, but the whole thing of out of sight, out of mind, that is a real thing, because everybody just gets on with it. You know, they just get on with it. Life goes on, whether you're there or not. Life goes on. You know, it just keeps moving. Yeah. Nothing stands still.
Yeah, you're the actor, for instance. You know, the wife is not an actress. Let's put it this way. She is, but let's assume that she's not acting at the moment. But imagine if you are married to another actress, how would that work, like, man? Because I'll see you in 3 months' time. All right, bye-bye. Are you going this way? I'm going that way, and we talk when we have the time. It happens a lot.
Out of experience, I can say it's a lot of drama.
A lot of drama.
When you put two actors together, what you're going to get is a lot of drama. That's the, you know.
You never know if people are
or
acting or you're being serious. No, I'm being serious now. Okay, let's talk then. Yeah.
There's a positive and a negative to all of that. I'm jesting, but of course, there is a positive, which is you have a complete understanding of each other's journey.
Wow.
You have somebody in profession as you. They understand all the pitfalls. They understand whatever it is you're feeling, whatever it is you're going through in that moment. They have complete understanding of it because they know it from their own experience. When you're with somebody who is not connected to the business, then all of those things that you're doing, they can be quite daunting. Oh, I'm going to a premiere tonight and I'm meeting so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And this is happening today. And if you got someone who's like completely unconnected to that, you know, that can cause issues. It can cause trust issues and all that stuff. So I think everything comes, you know, you just have the person that loves, you have to find the right person that cares enough about you and loves you for who you are. And everything else is just, you know, you figure it out on a day-by-day basis.
Wow.
It's like, I don't have how my relationship, and I've been married now for
you better get it right.
9 years. Yeah, I was going to get it. I've been married now for 9 years. We've been together for 13, in our 13th year now, 12 years. And I can't tell you that I had a plan or knew how it was going to work one day to the next. You know, each time you meet lots of new people, each time you come back with different experiences. Yeah. And each time you share those and connect in a different way. So I think you just make it work, dude. You just make it work.
You have to. Well, if it's if it's a long-lasting relationship, if the values and you know, will match, then of course you guys will understand that. Because it must be very hard for you to be in a party with friends or somebody's watching TV. Oh, by the way, there's my husband kissing another lady there. Look at that. He's a great kisser. You know what I mean? That must be terrible. Oh, there's a very nice sex scene coming next with my husband and someone else's wife. Ooh,
no, but the worst is when you have to sit down and you're at a premiere and you're watching the scene with your wife sat next to you. That's the one that's really tricky. That's
that hand squash against the
it's awkward no matter how you look at it. It is definitely awkward. I actually had that happen where, you know, I was in a TV series, and it was a love story, and we're, you know, making out and it's in the water and the bath and all these kind of wonderful things that making it very romantic and looking great. And meanwhile, I'm sat next to my wife watching while this is happening on screen. And I'm just like, this is so wrong. This is so, it's very weird. It's very weird.
Yeah, that is weird. Yeah. Well, okay. So another question here is like, lots of people are away from the family at the moment. So from your experience, apart from video calls, so what do you do? What do you recommend to overcome and pass this, you know, the moment and continue to be connected with the family? Because you've been
that's a really
Zoom lifestyle for many years now, talking to people over the phone and then FaceTime.
That's a really good question. I think everybody's different,
right?
But for me, it's having a routine. I establish, because I'm usually staying in a hotel. So they put you up in a hotel and then you get picked up in the morning and you get driven to location or to the studio, and then you get driven back to the hotel again. So there is a routine that you have to find out. First routine is, where's the gym? Right? So there a gym, is there a sauna? Is there something there so that you can exercise, so that you can maintain the look that you've created for this part, whatever that look may be? That's then second thing is, where am I going to do my laundry? You know, it's the real basics, because each time you know you're staying for a longer period of time. So where is my laundry being done? Where am I exercising, and how I'm going to deal with food? So those are the things that you start building a routine. So you're creating a life in a different city that you don't know, and you're getting to know the city, and then you meet people on set, and then you meet other actors and you hang out together, and you start creating a life together. Where you become this traveling band. So you go to have dinner together, you connect, you go out, maybe you'll go sightseeing on the weekend together, because you know, all these countries to visit, they have things to offer. So we don't get to see them while we're working, but on the weekend when we're not learning, we have a chance to then go out and then see these things. So for me, it's always about creating a routine. What routine can I set myself up with, so that I've got everything sorted that I need to get sorted, and so then I can really enjoy my life. I can enjoy it and not have to stress about what's going on.
Wow. It must be amazing for someone in a village somewhere in one of those countries where you guys record all these movies, to be, you know, walk into a bar and find half a dozen you top guys there sitting having a beer. It must be very weird for the local guys. What is the behavior?
Yeah, sometimes it can. When you're in isolated places, yeah, I think that can be, but people seem to be they get used to it. People, it's funny, people get used to this. You get used to everything. Wow. So they get used to us being there. And I remember we were filming in Spain once, and we were traveling from city to city because we're shooting at different locations. We're just taking this from there and this from there and this from there. And we would be traveling in these places that are only open during the summer. And so we were there in the winter. So there's nobody there. Literally nobody there. We're going to the hotel and staying in these, and they had no food for us because they weren't open. They weren't open normally. But we were now filming. We were taking advantage of the locations, and they couldn't care 2 cents that we were there.
Right.
They're, you know, it didn't matter. People get used to it. And then when you're in a bigger city, it's actually really nice in a big city, because what happens is, because you're on the set, it's like you get the keys to the city. So people will show you, go here, go here, go here. And so you get to experience things that maybe if you were traveling on your own, you wouldn't necessarily experience.
Right.
So there is definitely.
Let me change the subject now. Let's talk about Krav Maga now. We spent about 3 years, give or take, training Krav Maga. It was pretty much about 3 years.
Yeah.
Very nice. So we had the chance to go through, you know, the civilian Krav Maga, some military Krav Maga, special weapons and tactics, because again, you telling me like, in this set, I need to do this. On that movie, I had to learn firearms handling and all that. So we did some stuff. And then when I was watching, I think it was Homeland, where you and a bunch of guys walk into this place with machine guns and masks and balaclavas and all that. So, you know, the position of the arms, the gun, you know, it was fun because I was watching, telling my wife, look at that stuff. We've been training that, you know, a while back. But so.
I learned it all from you. I learned it all from you. It's very important. It's very, very important, because when you go and you're playing these characters that exist in real life,
right,
what you feel there's a responsibility that you feel as a performer to make it as real life-like as possible. And so on every set, there is a weapons and tactical expert.
right.
And so they take you through how you're meant to hold the weapon and stuff like that, and how you make it look so it looks real. So it looks real, because we're not athletes, we're not soldiers, we're not military, we're just actors. But they train us up. They train us up. And I had the advantage of having worked with Joe, of having a little familiarity with the tools, so to speak, with the props, i.e. the guns and the knives and things like that. And having had a little bit experience really helped me a lot, actually, to feel comfortable much, much faster in that environment, because I didn't feel I was pretending. Because the truth is, when you're acting, the only person you need to convince is yourself.
Right.
Because everybody that's watching it, they already suspend disbelief by putting their ass on the chair. So it's not them you have to convince, it's you. You have to convince yourself that you can be real in the as-if situation. So I have to make sure that I'm thinking not in my head, oh, this is all fake, I don't know how to do this. Because if I think like that, everybody can see it in my face, and it becomes very obvious that I don't feel that I know what I'm doing.
Right, right.
So I have to get to a place where I'm comfortable enough that I feel I know what I'm doing, that I convey that. Right? And that is a familiarity. It's just hanging out, holding the gun, moving around with it, you know, because normally they'll bring the gun to you and then they'll take it off immediately after the take. And they'll bring it to you, and then they have to show it to you once they put the ammunition in. They tell you it's empty, they tell you it's hot. So all of these things, there's a lot of safety. As soon as guns are involved, there's lots and lots of safety precautions, because several people have died on set, unfortunately, from accidents happening. People not clearing out the cartridges, or a thing, you know, Bruce Lee's son passed away to a stupid accident.
Yeah, that was unbelievable.
Yeah, so because of that, there are many precautions that are taken. There's somebody that will go around, and there's somebody from production who has to will stand next to you and check that everything is empty or everything is as it should be, so that these things don't happen again and we don't lose more lives as we have. Because, you know, when you're make-believe, when you're pretending something, it shouldn't cost anybody anything. You know, that's the truth of it. And so we take that, I think, as a profession, we take that very serious now.
So the question that
that training.
Yeah, you okay? The question is that regarding Krav Maga, regarding whatever style they use to.
Oh, you froze.
Oh, am I? No, I think you're the one that's not moving. That.
Yeah.
Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All good on my end.
Back on business. The question is, does Krav Maga have to be adapted for movie fighting scenes, or you know, because it's not very beautiful, not very pretty when you go fingers in the eyes and a kick in the groin. Of course, the TV wants to see the whoosh and the wash, and every time I see movies like say Batman, the guys using certain styles that I don't know how the production will research this. They go probably online, find out what's the latest self-defense or fighting system available, and then perhaps
it's all to do with camera angles. All to do with camera angles. It's a very technical fighting angle. It's very technical. It's about what you want to portray. Do you want to portray? It's what's your character like? What's the actor's ability as well? Sometimes you have leading actors, but they can't move properly. Right. So I can't give you a 5 combo if the guy can't memorize 3 in a row, because it's just not how he works. It's not his. We're not all built the same. You know, there's many famous actors, when you meet them, they're not physically very capable. So you have to work around what the actor's capacity is and what they're, you know, if you're going to go and you got somebody who's 45 years old and I've got a fight sequence with him or something, and it's like, well, he's not going to kick me in the head, is he? Because he's, you know, it's like you have to work with the limitations of what that person has. And so then you create and choreograph a scene, even though, like, you know, if you look at Keanu, during the John Wick series. Yeah. Now he trained with the guys from 8711, and he would go into like 3-4 months training beforehand. Yeah. Where they're shooting every scene, every fight sequence, they're being trained beforehand for months, so that then you take that from the gym and put it on the set, so that everybody knows exactly what the movements are.
Wow.
So, but that's because Keanu has done it for so long, and he's trained and he's trained and he's trained and he's been trained by these top professionals, that he feels comfortable enough to do these things.
Right.
If you don't have an actor who's coming in and he's just got a sequence, then okay, you know what? I'm just going to punch you, and then you're going to fall down, and then we call it quits. Okay.
Right.
You know, you go with whatever the moment is, and then also with what the character is. If you're a Dwayne Johnson guy and you're built like The Rock, well,
Like Rock.
what you want is you want to see him pick people up and slam them through tables. You want to see him pick people up and throw them through a window. Well, it's a different sequence than if I'm doing the fight sequence. I ain't picking nobody up.
Yeah.
Do you understand? I'm not picking anybody up and throwing them anywhere, because I'm not built like that, and nobody would believe it.
Right.
So you have to create a sequence that is believable for my level of fitness, for my level of what it is. If you look at Liam Neeson, he's a fantastic actor, marvelous. And I was in a film with him once, and so I got to see some of his movements. And then I saw Taken. You know, he shot that, I think, just after us. And I was just like, hold on a minute.
Who's that?
That doesn't work. And what they did is they took five moves, and they kept repeating those 5 moves, because that's what he could do. And they shot it in such a way that it looked really brutal, really fast. And that's where you can transmit that he knows what he's doing without showing anything that could make the average customer go, hold on, that's not real.
Right.
So you're adapting to the actor's abilities,
right,
to their body types, what they do, but also to the character. Yeah. You know, if you have a character who's a brutal character, who's you know, it's part of his characteristic, well, you know, then let him pick things up and throw people through, you know, make it look as brutal as possible.
Right, right.
If you have a smaller guy and he's built a certain way, well, let him spin through the air a little bit, you know, whatever anybody can do, let him do it.
Right. Well, okay. From that's very, very interesting. And what is when you go, example, work with people like Clint Eastwood, that was the American Sniper. He was the guy directing it, wasn't he? Correct me if I'm wrong. How does that work? You had the take on the guy, you build that expectation. I hope the guy's going to be like this, nice, and so on. Does that reflect the expectation, or sometimes it's like, oh my God, the director's an absolutely
that particular instance, everything that I wished it would be, it was, and I can only, you know, I can only speak really glowingly of that experience and working with Clint Eastwood. We call him the boss.
Right.
He's known as the boss. So nobody would refer to him as Clint. It's just the boss. And yeah, working with him and knowing that, you know, he's an icon, he's a legend, you didn't know what to expect. And then it's probably the best experience I had, because the set was so calm and he's so zen. There was no stress, even though we're shooting a war movie, there was no stress, nothing. We finished early every day. Yeah, you know, everything you'd want it to be. If I could do every movie with him, I would.
Wow, excellent. And I watched the Path to 9/11, because you gave me the DVD or CD or whatever there was back in the day there, which then foolishly I gave it back to you again. I should have kept that one. See, I should have kept that one. Memorabilia, you never know. Still in me.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a very interesting movie from that point of view, especially back then. But then you had the other one. Which is the one that you play the lion of Peshawar? What's the name of the guy again? The
Lion of Panjir. That was Path to 9/11.
That was a Path to 9/11. Okay, sorry, I got them mixed up. So when I looked at the guy, when I searched for the guy's information there, and I look at his picture and I look at you in makeup, and I thought, whoa, hold on a second. Which one is Mido? Which one is the guy here? Because that was amazing. And then you mentioned later that the family wanted to meet you. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was a very, that was a turning point in my career and also in my life. You know, sometimes you play things or you get a chance to play something that changes you on various levels. And I didn't think that I was really ready to play that part.
Right.
That, you know, and so I felt very nervous and very insecure about going into to play this guy because he had just died a couple of years before. We shot it in 2005 and he died in 2001, or he was assassinated in 2001.
Right.
And I remember I had, for those of you that don't know, I played a guy called Ahmed Shah Massoud, who was the leader of the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan. And he was assassinated by bin Laden 2 days before 9/11 happened. And he was working with the Americans during the time that Afghanistan was being invaded and being held by the Russians, and therefore had strong connections with the CIA. So when I started working on this job, they actually had the CIA guy there that was working with Massoud himself.
Wow.
And when I appeared in full makeup and in full costume on set, he broke down crying.
Wow. Wow.
And they also, two mujahideen that were there that had fought with Ahmed Shah Massoud, and they too broke down crying. And I think in that moment, something like really, it's different. Something different happened on that job. You know, I can't tell you what happened. Some things are beyond us. And sometimes you're just meant to play something because there's only one person on the planet that can do it. And I was, at that time, I was the only person on the planet that could do that. I looked the part, was in the right place at the right time. I was the right age. And I was able to have an opportunity to play that. And then when it got done, his family contacted me and they wanted to meet me. And to me, it was a little bit too much because I needed to get on to my next character and I had to let that go. But yeah, it's one of those, yeah, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes in many ways that's probably, you know, one of those experiences I haven't had since or before. It's just one of those experiences. It's life.
Very interesting. Let's go back one click here. Tibo's asking, first of all, he's saying hello. You remember Tibo? And he says, yeah, do you visualize the fighting scene? So what is your process? You go through step by step, let's review this. This guy come from the left, I go from the right, and this is how we do it. So what is your process of thinking when it comes to that?
Very, very good question. Very good question. So to start with, there's a guy usually called, you know, the fight choreographer.
Right.
And so the fight choreographer is the one that puts together with the director the sequences for the fight. And so they will have calculated where they're going to put the cameras and everything. And then they add us into it, so to speak. And so for us, they break it down bit by bit by bit. So we have to learn every single bit of the fight. So the first fight is, okay, you block and then you punch and then you grab the guy and you throw him over here so the camera over there can see him. So make sure that you keep his face in the shot. Okay, all right, let's practice that again. Right. So I block, I punch, and pull him over, get the camera there, and there we do the first cut. So now you're going over that process. You do it all in very slow speed, very slow speed, very slow speed. Okay, blah, blah, until the actor gets comfortable in that scenario, until either you're working with another actor, but most of the time you're working with a stuntman. So they're much better than you are. So they're selling it for you. Because that's the thing, is like you can look like a badass, but you're not actually hurting anybody. So it's the other person that is selling you. Right. You know, they have to pretend like, oh, they've been hit, and they have to show the damage in their movement and how they jerk their body. So it's really up to them to sell that. So we're all working now together. So it's bit by bit. So you memorize that sequence, and then I don't know if I would necessarily say visualize. I will, if I have time to visualize it, saying if I had fight training every morning for a whole week or 2 weeks, and then I'm shooting the scene because they've trained me every single day. So then I will start visualizing as I'm doing my shopping, as I'm cooking, what was it again? It was this, and this first cut. And then the second we come like this. I go here, I go do this. Then you are visualizing, and then you are replaying everything in your mind that you can, because you have the time to, because you've been rehearsed. That's if it's a bigger sequence. If it's a small sequence, it's just a slap or it's a punch that gets done on the day.
Right.
You know, somebody just stands there and is try it this way, try it that way. Now push, all right? And you make it up on the spot, but with the choreographer, the fight choreographer and the stunt team there. Because the thing is, safety is always first. We get padded out. There's pads on our knees. There's pads on our elbows, all underneath the costume, so you don't see it. There's usually, if I'm falling on my back and I'm getting thrown, then I'll have a big motorcycle pad on your back and in your bum, on your bum, to protect you from falling.
Right.
They will put mats down that you will not be able to see because the camera will cut out before you land, and then they'll take the mat out and then shoot you from there to that. So it depends, but for me personally, I like to visualize, Tibor. So I'm very big on visualizing things before they happen, so that my subconscious knows it, so I don't have to think about it once it happens.
Right.
But that's if we have the luxury to really study, and it's a big fight sequence or it's a big standoff or whatever. Then yeah, you will see it in your head and play it in your head. Right. But otherwise, it's about really paying attention on the day. Really paying attention on the day. Where is his foot? What's he doing? Where is he going? You know, and also, like for me personally, I prefer working with stuntmen than working with actors.
Really?
It's safer for me.
You know what they're going to be doing. It's us training with black belts instead of training with somebody who's never got a clue what they're doing.
It is exactly like that, Joe. That's a perfect, you're training with a black belt who's there to protect you, and he knows what he's doing. You don't. So he's guiding you and making you look good, right? When you're training with a white belt thinks he's a black belt, but doesn't know what the hell he's doing. And he's, you know, it's like, measure the punch. The punch is still going to look fast, and he's throwing it so quick, you actually have to block it.
Yeah.
And the amount of times people get hit, and it's just ego, you know, so that happens a lot. Absolutely.
And
but great question.
Yeah, the tuber is asking, as a professional, do you still feel stress before a movie, before a role? And how do you deal with that stress?
That's a really good question. Yes, I feel stressed. The stress is there for the first day. Because it's the first day. It's like the first day of going to school, a new school. You don't know anybody.
Right.
You don't know the teacher going to like you. You don't know if anybody's going to talk to you. It's like that. Every time it's like that. So it's the fear of the unknown. And then there is the fear of the responsibility of doing justice to the character. And each time I am nervous because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and everybody's going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing.
Wow.
And that's a very common feeling for actors to have, and for all of us to have. And I think in my case, it keeps me humble and protects me from getting lazy and not doing the research and not working on what I need to work on. So when I'm not nervous, I'm worried. You know, so it's really important, because nervousness shows that I'm respecting the ramifications of the job. Wow. And I'm taking it seriously, because, you know, but yes, you always get nervous, because it's just part of being a human being. And I think, yes, you become more, there's a routine to it, and you become used to your heart racing in a certain way. Right. It's like when I was still doing plays, Tibor, I think Tibor asked that question. I was still doing plays. I would drink Red Bull before I go on stage. And the reason I would do that is because it would up me like that. But I needed that feeling, because I had gotten so comfortable being on stage that even speaking in front of 500 people a night, because I was doing it every night, it wasn't doing anything to me anymore. Wow. I believe that it's actually good to be uncomfortable, because it makes you sensitive attention to everything that goes on around you. And the way that, to answer the second part of the question, the way how to deal with that is breathing. That is the key. If you control, if you know how to deal with your breath, slow your heart rate down when it is trying to get out of your chest and it's jumping through your chest, and you figured out a way to control your breathing, that is the key to everything. So now as I have a little bit more experience, I'm still feeling the nerves and feeling the sting, but I have all these tools that I can use, which is working with my breath, finding ways to slow down everything. And when everything slows down and the heartbeat slows down and everything calms down, then you can pick up everything. Because what's happening is when you get nervous and excited, your sympathetic nervous system gets activated. You're in fight or flight mode. And even though we're acting, the body doesn't know that. The body is going, this is a stress situation. I'm in fight or flight, and it shoots cortisol, and it shoots this, and it shoots that, and hormones are going all over the place.
Yep.
And this is a real situation that's happening inside your system. And you can't do anything about it. It's just happening. So the only way that you can do it is by switching on your parasympathetic nervous system, which is to slow everything down. And the way you switch on your parasympathetic nervous system is by exhaling longer than you're inhaling. So one of the ways that I do it, and I'm happy to share that with you guys, I'm known on set as the hummer. I hum when I'm on set. What I mean by that is I breathe in through my nose, and then on my out breath, I'm humming. And what happens is I'm not opening my mouth or anything. I'm just going, And what happens is because you're humming, it releases the oxygen in a slower pace and for a longer duration. So what you will have is you will have an in-breath that takes 4 seconds, for a count of 4, and you have an out-breath for a count of 20, sometimes 22, and then you go back. Instantly what happens is it completely slows down your heart rate, slows down your breathing, and it calms you down and brings you in a state of complete alertness.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's I mean, we could talk another 5 hours regarding meditation, regarding Soma, Wim Hof, and all that. But let's give them small doses of everything. Otherwise, they'll be overwhelmed. But I've got one more question for you here. So when you're not preparing for a specific movie, okay, when you're not preparing for a specific movie, what is your usual martial arts / training schedule? So what do you do in your downtime? Do you have that routine? So you're not preparing for a role, but now you cannot just go and eat, drink wine and eat biscuits all day. I mean, you can, but I'm not sure it's
good. Yeah. Again, very, very good question. I have to set myself a goal, and then I have to go and achieve that goal.
Right.
So whether I'm working or not, or whether I have a job to go to or not, I have to create a goal for myself, whether that is to lose 5 pounds, to gain 5 pounds, whether that is to become more flexible. So each time I come off a job and there's a layover of a couple months or however long my break is, I utilize that time to acquire a new skill set.
Right.
So I learn something new. I'm a beginner at something that I've never, like Krav Maga, for example. Like I started Krav Maga in one of those moments. I had no parts to prepare to. I had nothing to get ready to, but I wanted to learn something that could be useful down the line. So in that moment, I chose Krav Maga. In the other moment, it might be learning how to play the flute, or learning how to do yoga, or learning how to do breath exercises, or learning how to meditate. Whatever it is, you are always in training. I am at least always in training. I never stop training. I never stop learning. Because if I don't, it means I got comfortable and I know everything. And the truth is there's so much out there I don't know anything about. And so there's a lot of stuff that I can still learn and add. So those parts where you're not working are the most important parts, actually, because that's where you're living. And when you're working, it's from your living that you're drawing the experience from. So I make sure that I'm really living life in between those jobs, meaning I spend time with my family, I spend time with my friends, I try to see them as much as I can, try to connect with as many people as I can during that period of time. But I'm also trying to learn something new, and I've also set myself a goal, whether that goal is to meditate every day, or whether that goal is to go for a run every other day, or whether that is to become better at yoga, or to lift weights, and I want to do my bench press this month. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, but you set yourself a goal. And so that you're never that far off from where you want to be when the phone call comes and says, all right, Mido, we need you to be in South Africa in 3 weeks. And we need you to take your shirt off when you're there. Oh, great. How many weeks? 3 weeks. Oh, okay, cool. Well, if I had let myself go completely now, 3 weeks time is going to be really hard to get into good shape or to get, but if I am close, then 3 weeks is just enough time.
So you pretty much live the life of a MMA fighter that can get a call at any moment. Come and fight. There's an extra extra paycheck for you there. You need to be prepared. You need to be
Listen,
fitness in there. The body should be
availability is your best ability.
wow.
You know, in business and in many other businesses, I believe as well. If you're not available, somebody else will do it for you. Right.
Wow.
So you be ready. You got to be ready, because these opportunities and great opportunities, they don't come around every day. So you got to be ready for whenever any opportunity comes, and be, you know, but you're working on yourself. So it's fun.
Fantastic.
It's not like, you know, that's the advantage of it, is like, we're always working on ourselves. So it becomes fun that way, you know, and we never I never stop learning. You know, I think that beginner's mindset is really important, Joe. You know, and I think when I learned Krav Maga with you and we trained together, I couldn't throw a punch, guys. I didn't have any experience in doing jiu-jitsu or any experience in weapons training. I think I did some judo and some taekwondo when I was a kid. So I was pretty flexible, but I had nothing. I came in and Joe and I started, and he instantly went for a little, not a spar, but just kind of movement. And I gassed out within 2 seconds, because I was holding my breath every time I punched. And I had been in fights when I was a kid, but you know what it's like when you're fighting as a kid. It's like, pa, 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 and you're on the ground and somebody comes and pulls you apart. And so I had or if you got in a fight when you're a teenager and a little bit older, again, it was really quick and it was over and everybody's excited and but when you're talking and you're opposite standing somebody like Joe, and it just keeps going and going, well, you better get your breathing in check, and you better don't hold your breath when you're punching, and you better figure that out or you're going to get tired really quick. And so all of these things I learned, I knew nothing about. And Joe taught me about all of that. And I've been able, and really lucky, to implement the things that I've learned from Krav Maga and put them into my work, but also into life. So I'm always kind of am I holding my breath here right now? Am I doing this? Joe put that into my head, you know, and Joe put into my head lots of other things that I learned from him through training. So. Oh,
not the right hooks. Okay, I'm sorry. I was just thinking about the hooks, but those we don't count them. Okay. Well, okay. So any more questions? Anything more specific? Because otherwise we'll let Mido relax and enjoy the Friday. I mean, we could do this again. And by the way, you already got a job, Christmas party. You're gonna be there, you know, to do all the acting. We bring your little skulls and say to Krav or not to Krav, whatever you're going to do with it.
Oh, okay. Yes, sure.
Nice. Man, thank you very much. We've been here for an hour. I'm sure we could talk for longer. We even touched the other languages, the German side of it, the Arabic side of it, the Spanish side of it, that I didn't know you could speak that much Spanish. But anyway, we'll keep that for some other day. You know, acting in so many different languages, would that help? I mean, how does that work? Do you shift between German? Because German is your first language for sure. So English, in a way, is your second language.
That's right. Yeah. I think it's probably I believe, in my humble opinion, it's the biggest gift that God has given me, is the ability to speak other languages. The ability to be able to communicate with people is the most beautiful thing that you can imagine. So to be able to speak different languages and to go to different countries and speak in their language with them, or try to speak their language, the level of love and respect that you get back from people because they see the effort you're trying to put in is really amazing. And it brings us as people together. But the thing that I learned more, and I can only advise all of you to do that, is to watch movies in different languages. Yeah. And what you will realize is when that happens is you will see the same story being told in a completely different way, because the people of that country have a very different way of communicating, sharing their feelings. For example, I'm watching a show on Netflix right now. It's called The Trial. It's an Italian show.
Okay.
And I was watching it and I was looking at it and I go, well, if this was a show in the UK, it would be very, very different. The Italians are much more dramatic. They're much more emotional. Every scene, somebody is screaming at you. And I'm like, well, this would never work in an English environment, but it works perfectly normal in Italy because everybody's like that. So it's very much, and that's what I love, because that's human interactions. We come in all these different colors. We come in all these different sizes and religions and ideas, and we communicate differently.
Sure.
And the beauty is to learn all the different ways of communicating, because that's what I do. I'm a storyteller. So to learn all the different ways that how people share their stories is a really important thing. And it's a beautiful gift.
Wow, phenomenal. Man, there's someone just typed here. What about Angelina Jolie? Have you ever worked with her? Has she? I'm sure if you did.
I did actually. I didn't spend any time on set. We were in the same movie, but I didn't actually get to see her. That was my first movie that I was in, and she was in there, and Gwyneth Paltrow and Jude Law, and they were the stars. And I had a day's shoot. I had one scene. I came in. I said, "Oh, the house is on fire," and then I left again. Something.
That was it. Thank you very much. See you next time.
That was it. But it counts still. It's counts.
Yeah,
and
of course it counts. Yeah.
Of course it counts. So yes, we have worked in the same movie, but not on the same set on that particular day. So no, I can't say I have.
Because this is another thing, if people don't realize, sometimes things are filmed in completely different environments and different dates and times and so on. And then, of course, the editing people put everything together, put a bit of music, and all of a sudden you are some kind of badass.
Well, yeah. To use that example, I was working with an actor called Giovanni Ribisi, and my whole scene was with him, but he was already back home in America when we were shooting the scene. He had already left.
Oh,
so I'm shooting the scene with somebody else that was just reading his, reading his lines, and I was, it was very different.
Wow, amazing, amazing. But man, thank you very much. I don't think anyone has any more questions. We will. I'll send you the link. The image is a bit slow compared to the voice, but we have the audio, which is okay, which is good. And so thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
No, I don't hear it again. I don't want to hear it again, Joe. Once is enough, right?
I know the feeling now, because I've been standing in front of a camera, for the last 4 weeks recording my own voice, which I absolutely hated. Now I understand your feeling where when you said that you don't want to watch stuff that you record in the past. Now I related to that, but never mind. It's good because we can always improve. As you said.
Yes, absolutely.
Anyway, man, thank you very much. We will talk later. I hope we can give the usual phone call. Today's Friday, so we cannot be together to discuss after a good sparring session, but for sure we're going to be doing this in the future again, and we'll bring you to the classes. We're going to be training together, so people have the chance to chat a little bit more with you.
Absolutely. I'd love that. And wish you all a great weekend and have a good time, and stay safe, everyone. Stay safe and be blessed. And I hope to see you all soon again.
Yeah, no worries. Salvatore, I will get back to you regarding videos and movies and stuff like that too. But I'll do this via the WhatsApp group there. Thank you very much. Have a good day, guys. And I'll see you later. Mido, thank you.
Take care, guys.